The NFL draft is around the corner, and the Broncos might be cooking something big. The NFL draft is almost here. You can practically feel the anticipation in the air. And in Denver, it smells like opportunity. The Broncos just wrapped up a very intriguing top 30 visit that's got the fan base buzzing, TreVeyon Henderson. Now the big question, would selecting him at pick 20 be too much of a reach, or is he the final piece this team needs? In today's breakdown, we're comparing TreVeyon Henderson, Hampton, and the best available player at pick 20. There's a lot to unpack, so let's dive in. The running back obsession in Denver has made it clear they're heavily scouting running backs. Out of the 30 official pre-draft visits allowed, 9 of them have been with running backs. That's not just interest, that's a mission. The buzz is growing around the idea that the Broncos might just be one quality running back away from being a legit playoff contender, maybe even a dark horse Super Bowl threat. But is TreVeyon Henderson the right fit at number 20? Is Henderson worth a first-round pick? Some argue that pick 20 is too high for Henderson, but not everyone agrees. Chargers fans, for example, those who exist, are already worried that Denver might snag him. One outlet even said, if the Chargers let Henderson land in Denver, they're sleeping at the wheel. That fear isn't unfounded. Denver already made a splash by landing Evan Engram in free agency. Adding Henderson would give Sean Payton another versatile weapon. Remember, last year the Chargers traded draft capital to move up for Ladd McConkey. Now there's speculation that they could do something similar to try and land Henderson before Denver can. What about Ashton Jeanty? Ashton Jeanty isn't out of the picture yet either. With all the movement expected in the top 10, especially with teams chasing quarterbacks, it's possible Jeanty slips past teams like the Raiders, Bears, and Cowboys. If that happens, the Broncos wouldn't need to give up a huge haul to move up and grab him. But if Jeanty's gone, then Hampton becomes a very real option at pick 20. And here's the debate. If both Hampton and Henderson are available, who's the better choice? Breaking down the fit early in the draft process, Hampton seemed like the obvious pick. He's powerful, consistent, and fits the mold of a traditional lead back. But Henderson brings something different to the table, and that difference might be exactly what Sean Payton is looking for. The main concern with Henderson is his role in college. At Ohio State, he split carries with Quinshon Judkins after he transferred in. So even though Henderson may have been the most talented back, it felt more like a 1A/1B situation. That kind of uncertainty makes some teams nervous about spending a first-round pick. But here's where things get interesting. Henderson's versatility is what today's NFL demands. Modern offenses are built around flexibility and mismatches. Look at what the Lions did with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Gibbs wasn't a bell cow, but he made an impact every time he touched the ball. That's exactly the kind of role Henderson could play in Denver. Sean Payton doesn't run a one-size-fits-all offense. His playbook is more like a Cheesecake Factory menu, deep, versatile, and designed to exploit defensive weaknesses. He loves having multiple running backs who can do different things. One to break tackles, another to burn defenders in space. According to draft analyst Josh Norris, TreVeyon Henderson fits that mold perfectly. He's explosive, elusive, and can flip a game in just 12 to 15 touches. That's not just a luxury in today's NFL, it's a weapon. Final thoughts. The Broncos have options. Whether it's Jeanty, Hampton, or Henderson, it's clear the front office is determined to give Payton a dynamic backfield. But if Henderson's still there at 20, don't be surprised if Denver pulls the trigger. This draft is about building an offense that can win now and keep winning. And adding a weapon like TreVeyon Henderson might be the next big move. Henderson's value, more than meets the eye. In today's NFL, you can't just rely on one type of running back to carry your offense. Think of it like a game, Sonic and Knuckles style. You need different skill sets, different tools, and players who can thrive in different situations. That's where TreVeyon Henderson stands out. Let's take a closer look at just how effortlessly Henderson breaks down defenses and why that could be exactly what the Broncos need. A stretch pick? Maybe not heading into the draft process. Plenty of analysts labeled Henderson a reach at pick 20, but that opinion is starting to shift. Cameron Parker even compared Henderson to Bo Nix, not in play style, but in perception. He said Henderson is the kind of player people will call a reach until he starts producing, and everyone realizes he should have gone higher. And if Sean Payton has his eyes on him, it might not just be about taking Henderson at 20. It could be about moving up to secure him. Athleticism that jumps off the tape. Let's talk numbers. Yes, Omarion Hampton grades slightly higher on relative athletic score, RAS, largely due to his size. He comes in at a solid 220 pounds compared to Henderson's 205. But here's where things get interesting. Henderson is faster, clocking a 4.43 40-yard dash compared to Hampton's 4.46. Not a massive gap, but enough to matter when you're trying to hit a home run play. Beyond straight line speed, Henderson brings a level of quickness and fluidity that reminds a lot of people of Alvin Kamara. Both are around 5'10", both hover just above 200 pounds, and their broad jumps and agility numbers are shockingly similar. In fact, Henderson actually tested quicker in some areas. Knowing Sean Payton's history with Kamara in New Orleans, the comparison feels more than fair. It feels strategic. Big play potential watch. Henderson in space, especially in the screen game, and you'll see why the buzz is building. His acceleration is electric. His vision is elite. And once he's in the open field, good luck catching him. He has the same kind of explosive energy as Jahmyr Gibbs, Detroit's lightning-fast back who changes the game in just a few touches. Henderson offers that same dynamic playmaking ability, something the Broncos offense could desperately use. Whether it's a swing pass, a delayed handoff, or a designed screen, Henderson turns ordinary plays into highlight reels. That's the kind of threat that keeps defenses honest. Advanced stats tell the story. Let's pull up some analytics, courtesy of Pro Football Focus. Yards after contact per attempt, TreVeyon Henderson, 4.43, Omarion Hampton, 4.35. What's surprising here is that despite being the smaller back, Henderson holds a slight edge in this category. Most would expect the 220-pound bruiser to dominate in yards after contact, but Henderson's ability to fight through tackles, especially against tougher Big Ten defenses and college football playoff teams, speaks volumes. Then there's the versatility in running style. Gap preference. Hampton thrives between the A and B gaps, perfect for north-south, power running. Henderson prefers hitting the edge through the C gap, ideal for outside zone and creative pull schemes. And guess what? That outside zone and pulling game is a perfect match for Sean Payton's offensive style. Reliable hands. 2. Another critical point. Henderson isn't just a runner. He's a reliable receiver out of the backfield. In 2023, he had just one drop all season. That kind of consistency in the passing game could be a huge upgrade, especially considering the inconsistencies we've seen from current Broncos backs in that department. Wrapping up this section. TreVeyon Henderson might not be the biggest name in this draft or the most obvious choice at pick 20, but when you dig into the film, the testing, and the fit, the picture becomes clear. This isn't about finding a typical bell cow back. It's about finding the right weapon, and Henderson might be the exact chess piece Sean Payton needs to open up this Broncos offense. Could Henderson be the missing piece in Denver's backfield? Let's not forget, TreVeyon Henderson was a star right out of the gate. He had a monster freshman season at Ohio State, showing elite burst, vision, and playmaking ability before a foot injury slowed him down. But last year, he reminded everyone just how dangerous he can be. He bounced back, stayed healthy, and maybe most impressive of all, didn't fumble once all season. That's rare at any level, especially with the workload he handled on a national championship caliber team. What's the right draft spot? Now, the debate continues. Is pick 20 too early for Henderson? There's a case to be made for trading back. If Denver slides down a few spots, Henderson could still be available, and at that point, he becomes a tremendous value pick. But that's a risky game to play. Teams like the Raiders and Chargers are lurking. Both have shown interest in Big Ten talent, and with Jim Harbaugh now coaching in Los Angeles, there's a real possibility he jumps at the chance to draft a player he game planned against at Michigan. Raiders coach Chip Kelly also has deep ties to Ohio State's coaching tree, and if they miss out on Ashton Jeanty, Henderson could be next on their list. If Sean Payton believes Henderson is his guy, it might be now or never. And if that's the case, trust the coach. New weapons, new potential. Here's what has Broncos fans really fired up. This offense is quietly stacking serious talent. One recent preseason fantasy football ranking had Evan Engram as a top 5 tight end going into 2024. That's not something Broncos fans have heard since the Julius Thomas days. Even before Greg Dulcich took the field, expectations were high. But now, with Engram in the mix, the middle of the field just became a real threat. Pair that with Marvin Mims bringing speed, Cortland Sutton dominating in contested catches, and Engram creating mismatches inside. Suddenly, Sean Payton has options, building a complete backfield. Now imagine plugging TreVeyon Henderson into this offense. Speedster and big play threat. Henderson checks that box. Short yardage bruiser. That's where Arik Este comes in. Third down, change of pace guy. Enter Jaleel McLaughlin. That's not just depth. That's a full-blown arsenal. A backfield built to keep defenses guessing, stay fresh deep into games, and create explosive plays in both the run and pass game. Final thoughts. This offense could be on the verge of something special. If the Broncos do select TreVeyon Henderson, whether it's at 20 or in a small trade down, he could be the final piece that takes Sean Payton's system to another level. But what do you think? Is Henderson worth a first-round pick? Should the Broncos wait and risk losing him to a rival? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Broncos country, let's hear your take.